Well, the local coordination committees, the main grassroots movement on the ground, has in the last hour reported that shells fell on at a checkpoint outside Zabadani, which is a mountainous town close to the border with Lebanon. Now, they said that that was a breach of the ceasefire. Of course, we can't confirm that report just yet. They also, just over an hour ago, said that there'd been arrest raids in Damayr, close to Damascus. It's not clear, again, whether that would have been a breach. But these seem to be early reports that the ceasefire has been breached by the regime. As I say, we can't confirm it. Violence continued overnight. Obviously, that raised fears also that this ceasefire was unlikely to come into to force this morning, that it would be unlikely to hold. There was shooting reported in Banias, up in the north of Syria, also an explosion in Deir ez-Zor. Very hard to know the sources of those violence. We also know that the opposition has become increasingly militarized over the last few months. Now, the regime said last night via its Sana official website that it felt that it could do this ceasefire or bring in this ceasefire after having gained control of all of its territory. And over the last couple of months, we've seen an intensified campaign against opposition strongholds. So the regime clearly feels itself to be in a strong position. Now, we also heard from Free Syrian Army, that's the main rebel group, officials yesterday saying that they would not break the ceasefire before the regime did. But that group doesn't have a very clear command structure. It's not clear that all the groups on the ground that are acting against the regime are under the control of those officials who spoke yesterday. So there's a lot of scepticism, and it should also be pointed out that this is a ceasefire. It's not a complete end to the violence. The Syrian troops were meant to pull back by Tuesday under Kofi Annan's plan. According to Kofi Annan, that didn't happen, so they remain in place across Syria. There's also a sense that if the ceasefire was enacted, if it did hold, the result would be immediate large protests in opposition areas. That would probably then prompt a retaliation from the regime. So there's very much a sense that this plan is fragile, but also a sense that it's the only hope that there is. The Syrian National Council, the main opposition body, called yesterday for the Security Council at the UN to issue an ultimatum to the regime if it didn't impose this ceasefire and if it didn't hold. But it's not clear what the international community can do. Sanctions have largely been used up as an option. There's little appetite for military intervention, so there's very much a sense that this plan has to be given a chance. But these latest reports that this ceasefire may have been breached certainly give rise to doubts as to whether that can happen.